Welcome to Hair Up, Bra Off podcast. We're here to be your new comfort fix with unfiltered conversations on random topics and gossip. As two women in their 30s, Kathryn, who's been chronically single, and Sue, who is happily married with 2 cats. So take your bra off, throw your hair up, and let's get into it. And men, if you're listening, take notes. Hi everyone, welcome back. On today's episode, I'm really excited because Sue and I are going to be discussing our villain origin on why we despise men. And I think this is important to talk about because I feel like men just assume that women woke up one day and were like, you know what, we're going to hate on men, dislike them, whatever. But in reality, we didn't get here on our own. We didn't stumble upon this. We were driven here. We were taken to this point. So we're just going to talk about all the different things that have happened and why we ended up being man-hating people. So Sue is going to go first. So you tell us, where does this all begin for you?
Right. And I want to also just say that I don't think it's necessarily hatred. It's just mistrust, because it starts with you don't fully trust them because you've learned not to trust them, and it's not your fault that every time you try to let's say pet a dog, it bites you, people have that experience, therefore they don't like dogs, and it's the same thing for me. It's every time that a man has approached, 50% of the time it's been for something malicious, you know what I mean, or for some really bad motives, right? So I think that it's important to distinguish between you don't have an irrational fear or an irrational mistrust of men. It's it comes from a place, like you said. So I think that's important. So in my case, I grew up, as you know, in Peru. And I mean, I think there's just a lot of minor microaggressions. So I'll just talk about the big ones. But ever since I was growing up, I went to Catholic school. And the first thing, looking back on it now, that we would have to do is our skirts would have to be below our knees. And we're kids, you know what I mean? We're children. So, and every time something would happen where your skirt would be a little bit too high or whatever, the nuns would be oh my God, cover up, and it's what the hell is happening? Why am I being told and being made aware at a very young age that someone's looking at my knees, or that I'm someone's object of sexual desire? So I didn't understand that. And I think as I grew older, I was it's because we're seen as sexual objects for men, and we can't have any part of our bodies even though I'm 5 showing, because there might be a man that is looking at my niece or whatever. So that was a thing in Catholic school. And within Catholic schools, I have a lot of stories, but I'll talk about one of the teachers that was a chemistry teacher. And dude, I don't think I've ever told this story out loud.
Okay, now I'm excited. I'm sad.
This is PTSD. But anyway, this teacher I must have been 10 years old, and he was a chemistry teacher, and I was an A+ student. I was number 1 in my class, just for context setting. Not
teacher's
that,
pet. Got it.
Typically teacher's pet, yes. And this guy was I would sit next to my best guy friend all the time, and he would always be what's going on there? Why are you guys so close? And I'm 10, so, and my friend is also my guy friend is also 11, so we're out of the loop as to what this teacher's mind is thinking of, so he's just I see you guys always under the table. And it was because we were just passing notes, kind of making jokes and stuff, and he was already upset that I would talk to this boy all the time.
So the teacher was getting upset that you were talking to the boy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, which is weird to begin with.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And he would be what is your guys' relationship? He was so into why we were friends and why we were so close, and we were so confused by it. And I heard from people that I would go to the bathroom, and he would stare at my butt and be and look at the boys and be right. And so my friend didn't like him because he was he's a creep, he keeps making weird comments about you and your body, and he keeps asking me weird stuff about us. And mind you, we're best friends, And again, we're like 10, so nothing is actually happening, right? So that happened for a while. I started failing the class because I hated him. Like, just, I could just, when you just have a feeling and you're just like kind of protecting yourself. And I just didn't want to like talk to him. He would like make weird comments that he'd be like, "Sue, what do you think?" Like, he like had singled me out in the, in the classroom, And it was just like a very hostile environment for me at some point that I just like started like failing on purpose. And one day he called me into his like office, I guess, or something. I don't know what it was, but it was like a place that he had, I guess, to like grade papers. And he grabbed my hands. I remember this. He grabbed my hands and was like, "Sue, we need to talk about something because I think that you have a crush on me. And like, I can tell when someone has a crush on me."
That's
And
insane.
that's insane. And I was like shaking because I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Number one, I don't have a crush on this man. Number two, now he's grabbing me. So I'm in like a room,
And it's
like,
also just like he almost isolated you into having to deal with that conversation. He was he was, what's the word I'm thinking? He was confrontational in a way,
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's
that
a
I
power
couldn't even
thing, right?
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a power thing. And like, he just wanted to like have a conversation with me, but really he just wanted to like see what he could do. And thank God there was like a nun, which like I hate nuns, but in this case, the intervention was like good. And I think she saw what was happening, and she was like, she just like kind of came into the room and was like, "Sue,
Thank
go back to your
goodness.
classroom." And then she like stayed there, like stayed behind. And I went back, but he was still teaching us and like nothing was happening. And so I started a movement at my young age of 10. And I was like, "Hey,
This was
you
your
know,
first movement.
has this, my first movement, I was like, has this teacher been creeping on?" And like, he'd done the same thing with like a bunch of other people in other grades as well. So I like formed this coalition, and like we went and talked to and one of the girls, her grandma was like either the like really close to the principal or like had like a position of power at the school. And so
Hmm.
she was like, she channeled like all of our voices. And then like 3 months later, he was like fired, but
Good.
which is good. Yeah. But
You know, you know what's
he was still
sad
teaching
though?
in other schools. So it wasn't just
Well,
like
that's
our school.
insane.
Yeah.
What I like kind of makes me sad and upset is that clearly the nun had saw like something was going on and intervened and stepped forward acknowledging that something weird was going on, and even though she saw that and realized what was happening and somewhat protected you, she kind of failed you because she didn't really do much afterwards.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
it was
And it's a whole, like, that's,
you
yeah.
to
Yeah. And I'm
fix it.
10, right? And the thing is that there is very true. Like they said that it takes a village to raise a kid. It also takes a village to
Mm.
abuse one. It takes everybody not saying anything because
That is so
adults
true.
know, and they like see it, and they like, take note of it, and everybody knows. And just people decide not to do anything. And that's why it says it takes a village, because it takes everybody being quiet about something for it to be happening.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So
So
yeah, so
that's
that
good
was my
that you spoke
first.
up.
Yeah, I was mad. I think I just went straight into like really upset mode, because I was like, how the fuck is this like 30-plus-year-old man like actually teaching in this like school and feeling like he has the authority to like, summon me into a room and like, you know what I mean? It's still teaching and like doing the same thing to like not just me but a bunch of other people. And who knows what else he did, you know what I mean? Because like I left with like a hand touch, I guess, but like it was like extremely inappropriate. You're not having a conversation with a
110%.
10-year-old like as a 30-plus-year-old man. I don't know how old he was, but he must have been like 30 or 40. And like, you know what I mean?
And
Just like, that's not okay.
and you have to realize his behavior must have been so extreme for 10-year-olds to pick up on that said behavior, when in
Right.
reality they probably don't even understand those signals or nuances, but because he was so forward, it was undeniable. Like you couldn't not see it.
Yeah.
So,
And everything went back to sex, and that's what I always like found extremely interesting, because it was a Catholic school that like sex is the last thing they want to like teach you about, right? Non-Catholic
mhm.
school. But what is like ironic is like, so this happened like with him, and he would like check out little girls or whatever, which is extremely inappropriate. And then we had like another man, obviously like teacher, that was like the head of like the, I don't know, something committee. And I was friends with this other kid and another boy, and we would like, I think one day we were like talking, and then we were like sort of behind the door, but we weren't like, we were just playing, or maybe like we were hiding from somebody together, like from someone not seeing us and something like that. Because we were in the same bus back home. And again, like nothing, like we never, it's not like this little kid and I were dating or like had, like we were just literally like friends.
Mm-hmm.
And he called us the next day into his office and was like, I saw you guys hiding behind the door. What are you guys doing there? Like, are you guys touching each other? We're like, no, we're playing hide and seek. And like, just that was it. And we're friends and we've been friends. And so we just didn't understand like how our minds were going to a place where like we actually mentally and physically could not have gone to because we were like children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I
And
said, it's just,
so, what the fuck? Like, why are these men like in charge of kids when clearly they're out here thinking that like it's okay to put their sexual weird like fantasies and like onto us, you know, and like push it onto us? I didn't realize like how widespread that was. Like as I got older, I started like thinking, I'm like, there was a bunch of shit that happened that like was completely inappropriate. Like no one should have brought it up. No one should have even like said anything. It's not okay. You know, it makes you think about what those adults like think about when they get home and think about us in general, like as children.
oh yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear by how they were seeing just innocent behavior and taking
Yeah.
it to the extreme. And it's weird that they would even confront you. It's just
Yeah,
so,
it's so weird. And we were laughing about it. Like I remember vividly all of us in the bus like laughing about what we had been confronted about, all the other kids. And like us not thinking anything of it. We were like, oh, that's I don't know what they were thinking, but like, we were laughing. We're like, all we're doing was like, you know, playing. And then like as I got older now, like if I had been an adult in that bus, like I would be like I would have, you know, gone to like the school and said something because it's just like what the fuck is happening in that school. In that same school, so this is like 10 or 11, right? When I was 13 or 12, actually, my first boyfriend, like I said. I had my first boyfriend who was like 15. And one day I would go to the bathroom at like 10 a.m. and then he would go to the bathroom at like 10 a.m. and we would like say hi to each other and we'd like give like a kiss, like not make out, just like a little kiss, okay? Like nothing crazy, just like
mhm.
a little kiss and then we'd like go and part ways and go back. One of the nuns saw us one time. And of course, she's just like, come over here. Like, we have to talk. We're calling your parents. I think I told you, did I tell you this about my dad at some point? Anyway, they called my
Mm-mm.
dad. They called everybody. They were like, Sue's kissing a boy that's 15. My boyfriend at the time who was 15 was sick and tired of the nuns. Like, he hated the nuns. So he was just like, what are you going to do? Like, you know, let us go, whatever. He's like, fuck this. I don't care. Like, you guys are always like weird, fucking like nun shit that like, and like hiring rapists anyway. And like, this is stupid. So he was just like in full protest mode, trying to get like expelled from the school. And I'm still like
Mm.
scared because I'm like, oh, like I'm sorry. They're like, you're gonna get pregnant. This is like the nuns being like, you're gonna get pregnant. He's gonna leave you all pregnant. And I was like, I'm 12. So they call my dad and they were like, Sue's kissing on this boy. And my dad was so mad that they called him. He like came all the way to the school and they're like, I never heard like a blip when like you when she was like number one in the class, when she was winning math contests, when like she was winning all these other like different awards. And then he's like, you guys never call me, but you call me the one time that like she kisses a guy, you know, in school. And it's just like just to tell me about that. Like he's like, I find that very interesting, like feedback. Like that's the one thing that you want to me to know about. Like, and then everything else I've never heard a bleep from this fucking school. And they were like, oh, well, he's like, never call me again. He just like left and like
Yeah.
zero like retribution to me or anything. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is good. Like, at least my dad is smart. And yeah, so like from my parents, I never got in trouble. But it was like the school was like making it like such a big deal. And they were like, that's just her first boyfriend. Like, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, that's part of like, that was a big part of my origin story because from that, I think I started hating like organized religion, nuns,
Hmm.
men in power, men that are teachers.
But I remember you saying that you became more of a feminist in college and that
Yeah,
you
so
really. So is
yeah,
there anything like, because I feel like so much happened to us in college where there's maybe
yeah.
moments or
Yeah,
stuff.
so that's a good question. So I think like so I think it's important for context because you kind of have that baseline, but you're still like a kid, right? So you're like you see things happening and things
Hmm.
happening to you, and you're not making the connection between that and like feminism or the lack of feminism or like policies that like don't allow women to be in control and in power and whatever, right? Like, how is it that like men have figured out a way of controlling women in society? And it's like, so that's important, I think, to like understand like the evidence that I had in me before I even knew I needed the evidence. Oh, if that makes sense. I think it's like a lot less of a like of like any necessarily like traumatic experiences, but then I think when I started going through like the motions of like succeeding in school and then like going to school and getting like my scholarship and stuff like that, and like going through college, seeing that number one, men were doing like were taking half the effort to do anything, and they were being praised like twice as much. You know what I mean? Like in classes or like in my clubs that I was the president of, or like anywhere else. And that was one thing. So they weren't working nearly as hard as I was working. They were still getting by like just fine. And because like they're just confident, you know, and they think that their confidence is gonna like take them far. And then I started just seeing like a lot of the job prospects and like internships were like even interviews where, you know, men that I knew that were dumbasses that would interview and probably just say like I'm gonna be great would get hired, and like I would have to prepare and like I would have to like actually say why I'm a good candidate. And I think there's a quote there by somebody talking about women founders, but I think like women get judged primarily on accomplishments, like on how well they can do the job that they're applying for, but men get judged on the potential to do that job. That's how they get hired. So men get hired based off of their potential, and women get hired based off of their accomplishments. And that's fucked up because it doesn't allow for a lot of upward movement, you know, for women.
Yeah,
Because then
of
it's like,
course.
if you've never done something, obviously you don't have the, you know, background and the qualifications. And men get hired into something that they've never done, always and constantly,
Yeah.
always, all the time, because people are judging them based on what they could potentially do. And I think that's also very true when we date them, because it's not like men are looking for the potential of a woman to be skinny or to be pretty. You know what I mean? Oh, like
Yeah.
she has potential, you know. But women date like that all the time. Like, well, he could be something, you know. And it's
Oh
like,
my
okay, but
God, yes.
right now he's like broke and ugly, and like how do we get past those two things? Like, I think that we give them the benefit of the doubt all the time, always. And we don't give women that same leeway, or we're not as forgiving with women. And if anything, like we don't think that they're gonna, you know, ever change like who they are, when actually women are more capable of change than men are. So I find that like very interesting.
Yeah. Where's your villain origin story?
It's definitely from everybody else in society. It's from like the teacher in the school.
Okay,
Once was walking in
yes.
my I once was walking in Miami, and a man came and grabbed my boob, just randomly,
See?
like ran to me. The boob grabber. That's what they call him in Brickell, Florida.
That's
So it comes.
insane. I didn't
That's a
even
man.
know that.
It comes from a
See,
man
that's what
in
I
the
want to
street.
hear. That's what
Okay,
I mean.
yeah,
Like,
that comes from like a man in LA that I once was like walking, and he was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Fuck off!" And then the car turned around, four men, and they started like chasing me. And thank God there was another man that was like ran towards it and was like, "Stay away," and then walk me to my apartment in LA and my house in LA. So it comes from like those interactions. Like I've had like very violent or close to violent interactions with
see,
men
so
that had
that's what I'm.
no relationship to me, you
And
know?
see, that's what I'm wondering. But it's almost like I feel like need to be more specific so that people
Yeah,
understand that again, we don't just hate men
true.
because of the general aspect. We hate men because we've experienced it. We've
Yeah,
gone through
yeah.
this. Like
I've
we didn't
experienced, yeah,
like we didn't come here by ourselves. We were taken here.
totally. Yeah, exactly. I've definitely been like victim of like people grabbing me and like, you know, touching me. And it's just like, and outside of that, it's like also I have like specific examples also of like men being like, even at work, you know, like, hey, like do this for me. And I'm just like, no, you do it yourself. And they're like, well, you know, I just don't, I feel like if you can just read this faster. And I'm like, well, why don't you read it at your own pace? And then that way I'm not your assistant, you know, in this entire scenario.
Amen.
And so that's my hatred towards men, like kind of just started when I was a child, then continued through my teenage years because I kept getting assaulted and put down by, again, random men. And then it stays because now even like in the professional life, like, you know, a lot of men think that you need to be their assistant automatically, even though I have like more years of experience, or I'm like above them, you know, level wise. So it's just like, it's something that continues. But I think like again, when I talk about like my anger and who we need to get rid of, I think maybe in like different levels, it starts primarily with like the abusers. You know what I mean? Like of like kids and women. And then it's like the ones that are manipulative and like power driven, and like they try to put us down. And then I think like in terms of like who I don't care about too much is like the players, you know, just like not always. So when I'm like differentiating like towards who I feel the most anger towards is like those men, the abusers,
No, yeah, of
because they've
course.
abused me. Yeah. So it's just like, anyway, I think we should talk about your college story
So
because I
again,
think that's
yeah, so it's
interesting.
like it's again just something that I experienced. So I know firsthand men, how do I even say this? Hold on. Men just have the audacity.
It's true.
So Sue and I, when we were in college and we were star students, we were at the library, and I remember it was during exam week. So the library was packed and we were on the quiet floor. So I remember it being extremely silent. I was trying to write a paper, but I was, getting what's it called, writer's block, so I kept looking up and down. And Sue and I were on a sitting at a table where she was sitting, she could see one row of books, and then where I was sitting, I would see the next row of books. And I remember just looking up at one point and seeing this guy who was wearing a very bright lime green sweater. And I remember noticing it like, oh, wow, that's a bright color. And I didn't think much of it. And he was just standing there. And so I kept, dilly dallying, trying to figure out what I was going to write. And as I kept looking up more, I started noticing that it was strange. He wasn't moving, but he was just standing there. And all of a sudden, at one point, when I look up, I see that his dick is out and he's masturbating. And it was so weird because I looked up and I remember my heart dropped and my belly just like exploded. And I remember freezing so intently that you looked at me and you were like, what's going on, what happened? And I remember looking up again to make sure I saw it, and his pants were buttoned. It was just his zipper that was open with his dick out, and he was masturbating. And I looked at you and I tried to explain it, and you were like, wait, what? And before you could even say anything, and I don't even know why, this was so stupid of me. I got up and I ran after him because I was going to be like, what the hell? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what? I feel like the adrenaline was hitting me so hard because nothing like that has ever happened. So it was just like, I couldn't believe it. And you chased after me and you're like, wait, where are you going? What are you doing? And I caught up to him and I looked him straight in the cornea and I said, were you just doing what I think you were doing? And he goes, wait, and I'll never forget this. He goes, wait, what do you think I was doing? What do you think I was doing? And I was like, I know what you were doing, and that is disgusting. I can't believe it, da 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 da. And then he walked away, and then we went back to our table, kind of like registering what happened. And I realized, I was like, okay, you know what? I need to tell security because that's just insane. Like, I couldn't even believe that happened. And so Sue guarded our table and our laptops, and I went to go talk to the security guard, and I'll never forget, I went up to him and I was like, I don't know how to say this, and I don't, this is going to sound crazy, but I just saw a guy masturbating in front of me, and his eyes lit up, and I did not, like, I was not expecting this, but then he goes, wait, the guy was masturbating? Okay, yeah, no, you're not the first girl to say something. Okay, what floor are you on? Da da da. And I was like, oh
Fucked
my
up,
God,
man.
holy fuck. I was like, we're on the seventh floor. It's just me and my friend at a table. And I told him what he was wearing, the lime green jacket. And he goes, okay, just go back to your table, act normal, and we're going to look for him. I'm going to call the cops. So I go back up. Sue and I were sitting for a bit. And then we're like, you know what? We should just leave. Like, this is weird. And right as we were packing up, all of a sudden, I just see these police guys running down the hall, going towards the stairwell, saying, we got him, we got him, we got him. And I guess they were chasing him, and they caught up with him and they arrested him. And of course, as we were leaving and the cops were arresting him, they asked me a few questions, and because it was finals week, everyone was there. So everyone was like seeing what was going on. They were asking us questions, and I didn't know, like, when people would come up to me like, oh my God, what happened? I'm like, I don't even know how to tell you. I don't even like
I saw a dick.
I like
Not good, man.
And it's wild to me because at that moment during that time, I thought it was something crazy that happened. I never realized the significance of it until I got
Mm-hmm.
older and I started going back to that moment of how crazy that is. Like how intense and just how disgusting. I don't know. I think at the time I was trying to be more like laugh it off. I'm a college kid, whatever. But as I got older, I was like, wow, like that is something. Like, what the fuck is wrong with
Yeah.
people? What the fuck is wrong with men? And I think
Men.
that was the first time that I realized that there could really be a switch. There can be like a distinction between I guess a man being so sexually violent because I never dealt with
Yeah.
that. And it was
Right.
my first acknowledgement that that was real, that existed, and I witnessed it. And so that's
Yeah.
like to this day. And I remember I came back home and the school called me, or I forgot who called me, and I testified over the phone about what happened. And
Really?
I don't know what happened to him, but just insane. I don't even know.
Hopefully, I mean, I feel like those people just go to jail for like 1 or 2 days and then they like leave because they're like, it's a non-violent offense. I just thought to masturbate in public, like near a younger woman. And it's just like, that's fucked up though. That shit's gonna
Uh-huh.
escalate even if they haven't done anything. But I was gonna say, like, Ryan, my husband, and I talk about how we always see just like men with their dicks out. Have you ever seen a woman, even if she's crazy or homeless, with like her vagina out? Never.
No,
That never happens. That never happens.
it's just another way I've really distinguished how some men can be and how aggressive they can act, and how in certain situations you can be just confronted by it. Ugh. It's just, ugh, ugh, ugh. Where are the nuns when I need them?
They say like they say not all men but always a man, and it's so fucking true. Like
And that's what I mean.
it's just
Yes.
incredible. Why are they like that? Why? Yeah. Yeah. The other day I was walking. I think did I tell you? I was walking. Maybe I
Mm-mm.
told you. Anyway, I was walking on like my street and I was going to the gym with it was hot, so I had like the like workout shorts and like sports bra on, and I'm like with my headphones just like walking. I'm walking and there's always a lot of people walking, in New York City. So you know that there's people like walking to your like right, left, whatever. And I like off the corner of my eye, like I look at this window to my right, and it's like one of those dark windows that are like you can see like the reflection of people. And I see a man behind me with his phone kind of like angled towards my back. And did I tell you that I we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
but
this?
no, 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 but
Yeah.
continue, continue.
Okay. Well, maybe it's new for the podcast, but like
No, it is.
I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
it. So I see it and I immediately like stopped and went to the right. So I went to the right because like I just let him pass me, right? And this man is all of a sudden like confused, like, he's just like walking, but like pretending like he's just like still walking, and then he makes a left turn and I followed him and he looked back and I looked back at him and I was like I know what you did. And so I just started like now I'm following him down the street going south and going east in Manhattan. And like he keeps walking, but he keeps looking back at me. Like, why is she still like following me? And I'm just like still looking back at him, like I'm still following you.
Mm-hmm.
3 streets, 4 streets down. But I thought about that and I'm just like, how many people do you think he has like on his phone? Just like random women walking. And probably more.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you feel the need to do that, you have to have there's something wrong. There's a disease of the brain and it's called being a man. And
Uh-huh.
it's just like, yeah, because they need to have violate other people's privacy and like,
100%.
like they need to feel that they are like violating that space, and like that's what makes them feel better, because you can find videos of naked women online, you know what I mean, or of like butts or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to do it on the street being in like running the risk of like getting caught, you know what I mean. It's the same
A
thing with your
thousand percent.
public masturbator. Like you don't have to do it like outside. Is that it's like the thrill that they're feeling that they can like do it in front of like women, and they can like treat women like objects like in the wild. Like that's how they feel better about themselves. So that's my TED talk.
That specific like times where something like that has happened and it's kind of ignited this sort of movement in us. And I just feel
Yeah.
for all women as we share more and we understand better of, this isn't normal, this isn't okay, and all the different ways that men kind of violate us and
Yeah, all the
subject
time.
us subject us. I think that's the biggest thing. They subject us to these things that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, like
just
now I'm part of your depravity, right? Like it's like I
exact.
had nothing to do with you. and you don't know me, and all of a sudden now I'm in your phone and you're recording. You know what I mean?
100%, yeah.
Like, I had nothing to do with you. I did nothing to you. And I think that's why that's the sentiment is like stronger, because it's like people can talk about how anybody else wrongs them, like, but no other group of people can talk about how they're just being wronged by being women, something that they cannot control, and you're just born into the sex that you're born into. And that's a different level of frustration, because it's like, why is one sex constantly abusing the other sex?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Nope. Yeah. I couldn't
It's
agree
as if
more.
like they expect us to be fine with it and just be like, well, it's not all of them. It's just, some of them. It's not always them. And it's like, okay, but why is it always them? Like, why do I keep seeing dicks outside and not like vaginas? Like,
Mm.
so that's my primary thing against them, is that they're often no better than like, you know what? And this is a whole discussion around the bear versus what I said, be stuck in the woods with
The
a
man or a
bear.
bear.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
because the risk of getting eaten by a bear are way lower than the risk of like being raped by a man.
And plus, they were saying like the only thing I'd have to worry about when it comes to a bear is if he's gonna eat me. But when it comes to a man, I don't know if he's gonna assault me, sexually assault me, rape me, abuse me, torture me. I mean, there's just like a whole more plethora of things that men will think about doing. And with a bear, it's just okay, survival. I'm either gonna eat you or I'm not gonna eat you.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. And even if the bear decides to eat you, midway through, they may decide that actually, you know what, this is not my typical meal. So, like, I messed
mhm.
up. And then they like go away. So you might survive that. You know what I mean?
I
But
appreciate you standing up for the Bears like that. And
yeah, don't talk shit about the bear.
you are not gonna let anyone come, just
No.
talk poorly or
The bear was just chilling. Bear was just
that's
chilling
what I'm
in
saying.
his
Survival for him,
natural environment.
you know.
Right.
And
Exactly.
this is
Yeah.
the okay. So I'm so glad you said this. This is another reason why I feel I have, or another reason why I get frustrated with men is because when you bring up that argument, a lot of men get angry and they don't understand it. And they think, "Oh, why would you even pick a bear over a man? That doesn't even make sense. Of course he would eat you. A man will be there to help you, protect you, blah, blah." And it's like, it's just that clear indication that you don't see the reality of the world that we live in.
Yeah.
And
Protect me
that's
from
so
who?
frustrating.
Protect me from who?
Exactly. From what? So
That's a
that's
better.
that's a,
That's the best argument. Why are men here for? Oh, to protect you from who?
say that
Who?
again.
Who? From
Who?
who? Who?
Who? Our
I
new
turned into an
our
owl.
what this
Who?
was
Who?
our mascot for this podcast from now on is gonna be an owl. Who? Who? Oh my
Protect me
god,
from
all of
who?
our owls. That's gonna be our fan base, the
Your
owls.
own kind. Also,
But see, and again, I guess that's the again where my villain or or I was gonna say orgy. My villain
that's
origin.
the one thing you're not having. That's the
LOL.
for
Maybe
sure
that's
thing you're
why
not
it's in my
having.
mind. It's just always on the brain. But
Yeah, but see, at least you don't go out like kidnapping many, many men and like being like part of my fantasy orgy, like, on purpose.
and if I did, I would treat him kindly and respectfully, and I would ask for consent. Just
Right?
so I mean, there's a way to go about it. And that's what
Exactly.
men don't understand. And I think that's okay. That's like, I feel where my villain origin starts is just men don't understand, period. Just put that on the
They
docket.
I think that they were wired differently, and for the most part, again, not all of them, but
No,
some of
yeah.
them, the
Dude,
ones
like
that do the most damage, they just have something wrong with their brain,
I got
and it
very
needs to be
lucky
studied.
because for the majority of my life, I've never had anything significant happen when it comes to a male encounter up until college. And even with my brother's like the nicest man
Right,
alive. He's just so level headed, he's so understanding, and he takes into account all the things that are happening. And, it's nothing compared to like what is really out there with our
right.
bears.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that there are like some great, obviously amazing men in this world, but I think like, I think that's what it boils back down to is like anyone that tells you a story that's a woman, it's like at some point they've been like assaulted in some way, shape, or form. Everybody, every woman. Tell me one woman that like hasn't at some point been grabbed by a man somehow, like inappropriately, where they didn't want to be grabbed, or like been, you know what I mean, like abused by like a man showing them their penis. Like it's happened to everybody. Show me one woman where it, unless you've been living under a rock, and trust me, like that's hard because Kat's been like in a rock for a while, and even she suffered from this. So it's hard if you're just like actually out in the street, like to not have been, you know, like grabbed or like violated in some way, shape, or form. So
No, yeah, I
how
thousand
is that
percent
possible?
agree.
How is that actually possible though? Like it's exhausting, you know what I mean? Men don't get that because they don't have a chip on their shoulder. Like they just go out and like walk around and they're like, oh, just, what's the worst that can happen? No.
Right? The worst thing that could happen, I run into a bear and he eats me.
Right,
Period.
exactly. No,
That's it.
actually though, Kat, actually that's what they're scared of because you know what's so
Yeah.
funny, ironically, is that I was talking, I'm not gonna say his name, but we have a friend that like just moved to New York and that like lives in Florida. And we're literally having the conversation of like guns in Vermont for whatever reason. And he's just like, you just have to like have a gun, you know, like in your place out there. And it's like, why do you need to have a gun? It's like, oh, what if a bear breaks in? And it's so ironic that like that's what they're scared of. The bear breaking in. What? You're talking about a 0.00001% chance, and yet your brain cannot understand how we're scared of like a 50-50 chance that a man will like attack you if you're in a room with them alone. You know?
Like
They're
I,
out here like scared of the actual bears. You're right. Like, what if there's a bear or an alligator? Like, bro, that's your
yeah,
biggest fear.
a
That's your
hundred
biggest fear.
percent. And
That's your actual, like, you're thinking, and like, it's a conscious thought. Like, they have nothing else to worry about except for whatever reason, one day a bear is going to come and break into my house, and I may need a gun for that.
yeah, that's
How I
that's their
wish
biggest
that was
fear.
my only fear. How I wish that was my only fear. Can you imagine? Our brains could even go there because we're worried about
Mm.
everything else that could happen, like with the men outside in the wild. Our brains can even go to like, oh, if it was a peaceful world in which no one was like, you know, ready to attack me, what would I be afraid of? I know. What if a bear comes? Like, dude, that shit's ridiculous. I was laughing. I can't even like respond like logically to this man because I'm just like,
It's
you're
like,
actually stupid.
and it's not even thinking logically. Like bears don't have thumbs. They can't unlock your door. They don't have a
Yeah.
map to your house. They don't have a key. I mean, I'm just wondering where you thought that you would be so careless. Like, what, do you leave your door and windows open? I'm
Right?
Confucian.
Leave a bowl of honey out like a dumbass.
Right, exactly. Do you leave honey out? Do you leave a trail or something? I'm
No,
just
I just love
confused.
that. That's like what they're afraid of though. It's like hilarious. Like there's such little dangers in their life that
Hmm.
that's like what plays in their head. Like that's my biggest fear. Hilarious. Love it. Wish that was my fear as well.
Right?
It's not though. It's getting
And
assaulted in the train, getting assaulted outside, getting assaulted in the Uber, getting assaulted like literally anywhere else.
right? Going to the library to study and bam,
Going going to the library to study. We weren't even out, you guys. Like we were like
we're
studying.
we were
What
on the
else are we gonna
quiet
do?
floor. I mean,
Wearing sweatshirts, you know, because the AC was always blasting in that building.
but
It was
see,
so
that
fucking
doesn't
cold.
even matter. I could have been wearing a string bikini, but still,
My
I'm
God, I
just,
saw a video of a man that was like checking out this woman in Saudi Arabia that was like with covered from head to toe, and he was still like trying to check out her butt.
it's just, I just try so hard to just be like, it's like, what else could we possibly do at this point just to be
That's
able,
what we need to do is get organized and start sending these men somewhere else. And you know,
amen.
that's kind of where I'm like gonna start, you know, wrapping up. I think that we need to switch the tables and have women in power, and we need to find a way to like, you know, attack the cancer. And the
Hmm.
cancer is men. So we need to do something. I think that's the solution, and I think that we good ideas only. Kat
Mm,
giving good ideas. We're gonna take good ideas in the comments as well. Any other ideas that you have, let us know.
yes.
It only involves men in this case. No
Mhm.
ideas for women. Thank you very much. Your comment, like your ideas, can now be things that we as women need to do. Just
Amen. That's for another
male,
day,
like
another time. We're
another
focused
time.
on one problem at a time, people.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm world because I think we need logistically speaking to like find ways of actually executing it. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, because once I have, if people vote for me, My 300 follower.
I love
I
I love how
promise
there's
I will deliver on this.
wow. And you don't hear a lot of politicians saying that. So this is
No,
a
first one,
first.
heard it here. It's the first. Yep.
Promises.
I
Mm.
promise to start making it work. I think it's simple enough. This is just staying here and gonna talk about my plan on the
Oh,
next episode. And
ugh.
and as long as you guys don't tell anybody else other than the women in your families, we're gonna
Hmm.
be okay.
We
But
don't
it
want
has to be on
the
the secret.
opposition to hear our plans.
For now, let them worry about the bears breaking into their house, whatever. Like
Oh my
that's
God. At this point, I kind of just want to get a bunch of bears and unleash them on the male population.
I know. But anyway, just stay safe out there and always never trust the males. Sometimes trust bears, I guess. That's better off. And vote for me for your next
Amen.
candidate.
Go Owls. Thank you so much for being with us. And tell your friends, men, or enemies, we're not picky. Follow Hair Up, Bra Off everywhere you scroll. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.